Okay, so explain how America made the dangerous trek across the Atlantic Ocean during World War One. How did America help the Allied powers win the war in Europe? All right, so let's get to it here. So, influences the United States getting involved in World War One. Where do we start? Where do we start? So the war started in 1914, but the United States joined right away. No, no, they didn't. Okay, good. So what happened that pushed the United States to maybe join with the Allied powers or get involved in this war? What came first? Griffin? Yeah, unrestricted submarine warfare. Good job. So the sinking of Lusitania is a good example of how the United States is being pushed into this war, in this conflict, and probably going to side with the Allied powers because these submarines, these U-boats, it was hard to detect them underwater. And if Germany's going to win this war, they need to make sure that they cut off any type of resources, materials coming to the Allied powers, specifically Great Britain. Okay, so they didn't care what was going across the Atlantic, and many U.S. vessels took the brunt of that. Okay, and a lot of different forms of cargo, a lot of money's on the line, and also we all know with American citizens dying. All right, good. What was the second and final push for the U.S. to get involved right after this? This again, this is what pushed the United States in this war. Kale. So, Sinking of Lusitania, we didn't join though, right? We didn't join, but this is probably pushing us towards more the Allied powers. But what was the second and final influence that pushed the U.S. into the war? Yeah, the Zimmerman note. Good job. Zimmerman telegram, whatever you like to say for that. And what was that? What was Zimmerman telegram? Barbara, what was it?
So I don't know if it's true or not, but
Zimmerman, he said that he did, right? So he said that he did. Again, a lot of people thought beforehand the conspiracy, oh, maybe this was Great Britain because they control all communication, right? Okay, good.
He sent a note to an ambassador saying that Germany will help Mexico invade the U.S. If they invade the Cold War in order to keep the U.S. out of war.
Yeah, good job. So to try to prevent the United States from traveling across the Atlantic and getting involved in Europe, Germany reached out to Mexico and asked them to invade the United States. And if they do that, that will prevent the United States from getting involved in the war. Okay. But really, was this realistic? No. Yeah, Mexico was promised these lands of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona. But in all reality, if Mexico tried to invade the United States at that time, okay, obviously that wouldn't go too well. Okay, the U.S. would have crushed them probably within 6 months. And that wouldn't have, maybe, yeah, obviously that would prevent the United States from getting involved right away in the war in Europe. But in all reality, this probably wouldn't work. Also, Germany, they probably couldn't supply Mexico, right? So who was out in the Atlantic Ocean that controlled really the waters? Well, the U.S. was number 3, and who was number 1 at that time? Strongest Navy. Great Britain, yeah, good job. So ideally, looking at it in all reality, this probably wouldn't work out, okay? But that pushed the U.S. into the war. So how's the United States going to try to help the Allied powers out? How are they going to get supplies and armaments and even troops across the Atlantic? What did they use? I think it was one of these terms we talked about on Friday. Go ahead, Eddie. The convoy system. Good job. Good job. So backing these battleships, these dreadnoughts, supply ships, and even passenger ships across the Atlantic, okay, all grouped together. And they didn't sail in a straight line, right? They sailed in a zigzag motion to try to prevent any type of easy attacks from torpedoes of these U-boats, these submarines. All right, good, good. And with the United States, as they get over to Europe, do they just take out Germany, no problem? Do they take them out, no problem? Matt, you're shaking your head no. Why? Was the U.S. prepared for this war? No. Okay, no, they weren't. So they had no idea what the battle and what warfare looked like at the beginning of World War One. With all these new advancements on the battlefield, with trench warfare, chemical warfare, tanks and airplanes, this was all new to many of these American soldiers. Okay, they had no idea what they're getting themselves into. But just the sheer motivation, enthusiasm, and really the supplies and armaments coming to the Allied powers is what just toppled Germany. Okay, now you're adding the #1 industrial power, #1 agricultural power in the world to the Allied power side. So you have to think that sooner or later the Allies would win. And it happened within not a little bit over a year. Okay, a little bit over a year. Didn't take too long. All right, is there any questions, guys? So again, I wanted to talk about Russia a little bit and how they left the war and how that eased up a little bit of pressure and tensions for Germany as they didn't have to fight a two-front war. But as the United States gets involved, it's just too much, right? There's resources coming over to the Allies that Germany just couldn't keep up with. All right, so remainder period, we have our battle presentations tomorrow. I'd like you guys to work on that quietly. I'll play some music with it for you guys as you're working on your presentations. If they carry over to Wednesday, we have a half day. So I think it's like 25-minute period. We should be able to get everybody done within tomorrow and a half day. Is anybody finished now? No one. Okay. Okay. All right. So reminder, when you guys are looking at the description, okay, make sure you include all those aspects on the rubric, right? And that was detailed on the assignment. For the primary resource, make sure you have a quote, news article, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a form of propaganda that you want to talk about. That'd be great. But I don't want you just to point up, oh, here's my primary resource and move on. Make sure you explain it in detail. What is it talking about? Right? How does it pertain to the battle that you're researching? Okay. All right. Also, no reading straight from the slides. Okay. If you do that, I'm taking points off. All right. So come prepared. You guys can put in the notes under your presentation to help you. That's fine. But make sure you're just not reading straight from the slides. Citations. Okay. Don't forget about that either. All right. Know what we're doing? Cool. Oh.